got the Unit 3, Day 3 worksheet. We're simplifying complex fractions. The first order of business is to find the LCD between all the little fractions there. So to me, here's a little fraction and here's a little fraction. We're going to be missing our minus signs in here. It's just what happens with these PDFs, so deal with me on that. So when I look at this first one, I notice that my LCD between all the little fractions is the x plus 1. So the LCD is x plus 1. And instead of trying to get everything to have the same LCD, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numerator by x plus 1 and the denominator by x plus 1. The value of this thing I have here, the value of this fraction is 1. So when I multiply the original fraction by 1, it doesn't change the value. So I need to then go ahead and distribute. So I'm going to take the x plus 1 and distribute it in to the 1. That'll give me x plus 1. Now I'm going to take the x plus 1 and distribute it into that fraction. On this one, the x plus 1's cancel out, so we're left with just x. Then we have our denominator, sorry, our fraction bar, and now we're going to go to the denominator and we're going to distribute the x plus 1 over to that one, and we get something very similar to what we had before, so 1 times x plus 1. And lastly, we're going to, let's see, about distribute it over there, and what we find is that we get some, these will cancel out. Now, it still goes to both, even though it cancels out on the first one, just these happen to be canceling out on the second one. And now we're going to simplify the numerator and denominator, and x plus 1 is 2x plus 1 all over 1, just 2x plus 1. The restrictions are x cannot be 1, sorry, x cannot be negative 1, and we need to look at the restrictions also with the whole denominator. So using that green pen, we're going to say when is 1 minus x over x plus 1 0? So the whole denominator can't be 0 either. And this will never be true because there's a couple ways to look at it. You could solve it out, but that thing in the box can never be 1 because the denominator is always 1 more than the numerator. So we only have one restriction, x cannot be negative 1. Alright, number 2 is a toughie, so I'll probably have to move some of number 1 when we get there. Number 2, zoom in. The LCD is x plus 2. I don't need the whole 2x, but I need the 2 out of that, and I need x plus 1. So I need all those parts for my denominator, or for my LCD. X, let's call that 2x times x plus 2 times x plus 1. And I'm going to go ahead and use the method that we used on the last one. So I'm going to multiply the top by 2x times x plus 2 times x plus 1. I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. Okay, so when I distribute the numerator to the 3x, what we get is that we're going to get the x to cancel, and we're left with 3, so I don't think there's going to be room there. Let's go ahead and write it down here. So the 3 remains, so we get 3 times 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 1. When I distribute it to, let's use orange, when I distribute it to the second one, what happens is the x plus 2 reduces out here, and I'm left with 2x and x plus 1, all of that times 1, so plus 2x times x plus 1. Let's go to the bottom. How about some green? When I distribute this to the first fraction, the 2x is going to reduce out, so this thing will go away here, and we're left with x plus 2 and x plus 1. Here's my divisor bar. X plus 2 times x plus 1, and we're going to have a minus, and let's use red. So I'm going to distribute this into there, and what we're going to get is the x plus 1 is going to go away, and I'll be left with 2x and x plus 2. So now I need to simplify all these things. So, just to save a little bit of room, maybe do some of these in line. If I FOIL this thing out here, I'm going to get x squared plus 3x plus 2. The orange isn't going to be too bad. The green will just FOIL itself. The red won't be too bad. It's just the purple that's a little bit of a mess. So 6 distributed in is going to be 6x squared plus 18x. That's 18x. Let's try that again. 18x plus 12. The orange will give us 2x squared plus 2x. Divisor bar, green, gives us x squared plus 3x plus 2. And we're going to distribute that negative. This negative has to go, let's just take it with a 2x, sorry. So I'm going to be distributing a negative 2x through when I multiply that out. So negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times 2 is negative 4x. And now I'm going to combine my like terms. So 6x squared and 2x give me 8x squared. 18x and 2x give me 20x. 12 doesn't combine. Let's use, how about dark green? So x squared minus 2x squared, that's going to be negative x squared. 3x minus 4x is minus x plus 2. And then I should really see if this factors. So this green one, I really want to think of it, I want to take out that negative. So think there's a negative 1 out front, and that's going to change these signs here. Oh, we got a little bit of room, don't we? Similarly with the blue, maybe we should write over here. The blue, let's take out a 4, and I'll get 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. And the bottom green was the opposite of x squared plus x minus 2. So the top will factor and the bottom will factor, but I don't think we're going to get any help out of it. So the top becomes 4 times 2x plus 3 times x plus 1. The bottom becomes negative x plus 2, x minus 1. Don't think those x plus 1 and x minus 1 reduce. They don't. Even with that negative, it doesn't help you. So that's, you can leave it in that form. This is a fine answer. We do need to state our restrictions. So we can't have our denominator be 0, so from this spot right here, x cannot be -2, x cannot be +1. If we scroll up and look at our original, we see that x cannot be -1 and x cannot be 0. And those are our restrictions. So, number 2. Alright, let's move on, see if we can get one more in before we run out of time. Number 3, pretty straightforward. We're missing a negative sign here. So the LCD is just x, y. X times y. I'm going to multiply the numerator by xy and the denominator by xy. This will get rid of all of our fractions. So xy times the first is going to give me y. And let's use orange. Xy times the second gives me plus x. Got a divisor bar. Let's move to the bottom. Sorry. Xy times 1 over x gives us y. There's a minus sign. And last but not least, sorry, xy times 1 over y. And that gives us x. And that's all we get. You could do your restrictions. I think, I don't know, the best way to state it would probably be x cannot be 0, y cannot be 0, and x cannot equal y. Cannot be 0. Okay. Alright, let's look at number 4. Missing some minuses again. You can see that bottom is a difference of squares. I think this becomes a lot shorter, but let's do our traditional method and we'll identify our LCD to be x squared and 4, or 4x squared. So I'm going to multiply the top by 4x squared and the bottom by 4x squared. Just to review the concept, this thing right here has the value of 1, so I'm really just multiplying the whole fraction by 1. But what's going to happen in the numerator is we're going to get reduction. We're going to get reduction in the denominator, and we get something a little more easier to deal with. So let's distribute to the first. So we'll get the x to cancel out. We'll get 4 times 5, which is 20x. Distribute to the half. 4 and the 2 were reduced, so we got our minus, and we get 2x squared. Divisor bar, move to the bottom, distribute to the 25 over x squared. X squared reduce out, 25 times 4 is 100, and distribute to the 1/4, the 4's reduce out, so we get minus x squared. The denominator is a difference of squares. 100 minus x squared is a difference of squares. So the top will factor. Take out a 2x. The bottom factors to 10 plus x, 10 minus x. And the 10 minus x is reduced. So we get 2x over 10 plus x. In terms of nothing reduces there, we have a binomial on the bottom. It does not reduce with a monomial. In terms of restrictions, so we see the 5 over x says x cannot be 0. Same thing with the 25 over x squared. And we need to know when that whole denominator is going to be 0. So when is this turkey 0?